Wasteland 3 is a squad-based role-playing game by inXile Entertainment. Set in the nuclear winter of Colorado, you set out to form a new base for the Desert Rangers as you navigate the precarious political landscape of the 22nd century. Hoping to secure supplies to send back to Arizona, you must work with or potentially against the Patriarch to secure his 3 children who seek to overthrow him.
As I went down in the valley to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way.
By defeating enemies and finishing quests, you level up your squad and unlock access to new skills, enabling you to become stronger and equip better gear and take on more challenging fights. The cycle is simple, but the depth of the choices you can make in this game really flesh it out to almost 80 hours of gameplay. So, let's comb over this game for everything you need to know. The length and style of this video does make it prone to being outdated, so look at the top right corner when I begin a section. I will make new videos to update if anything does change. But without further ado, let's get this show on the road. What is Wasteland 3?
As I went down in the valley to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down. Come on down, don't you wanna go down? Oh, mothers, let's go down, down in the valley to pray. In the valley to pray.
Combat in Wasteland 3 takes place on a turn-based grid with your party taking their turn followed by the enemy all at once. Your party can take actions such as moving, shooting and using items. All of these actions cost action points, abbreviated to AP. You have a certain amount of AP available to you depending on your coordination stat and certain utilities or character progression stats. Health or Constitution is a stat of all units. Bringing this down to 0 results in enemies being killed and unconsciousness for player characters. You can revive your characters mid-fight or after all enemies are killed, otherwise they become incapacitated and effectively dead until you reach a doctor. Constitution is dictated by your strength stat, which not only improves your base health but how much you get per level. Attacking enemies and how you do this depends on the weapon. Melee attacks must be performed right next to an enemy, while ranged attacks require line of sight. Speaking of, depending on the weapon, different hit chances will appear at different distances. Shotguns, for example, will pretty much always hit up close, but can't shoot past a certain range. All weapons are like this, so it's important to get used to that positioning needed. As you attack, you build up your strike meter, a powerful attack that can quickly turn a battle. Charismatic characters have an easier time of getting this full. Characters in this game can take cover, either half or full, and a bonus depending on which. Not only does a character's evasion increase considerably in cover, but they also gain a hit chance bonus to attacks, so all units should be sticking to it. Cover bonus only counts when the line of sight goes through it, meaning flanking is a crucial tactic in defeating bunkered down enemies. And I think this is where the parallels to XCOM can be really made, as half the battle is about positioning units well. The other half is number crunching, more on that in a minute though. Wasteland 3 has fully voiced dialogue and many options when talking to people. This is one of those games where your actions will have consequences for better or worse. Many a morally grey choice will be made, but the worst decision is to not make a decision at all. Stick by your guns and you should be fine. Many factions can be allied and worked with, as your actions grant you new fame and potentially infamy with the people of Colorado. Characters within certain factions will react to you accordingly depending on what you do to them, providing you with unique solutions to problems or just them harming you. A choice made in the first few hours may come back to bite you, but this doesn't mean you should worry, as with commitment comes rewards. Wasteland 3 is the culmination of a series and gameplay at its finest. Perfect for newcomers and in-depth for veterans, it allows for smart thinking and a tactical mindset to conquer all. That or a lot of explosives. Just like the rest of this game, it's up to you. Character creation plays a large role in Wasteland 3 as it dictates your strengths and weaknesses. All characters in the game at release cap off at level 35. From leveling alone and including the base stats, you gain a total of 54 attribute points, allowing you to max out 5 of your 7 attributes. In fairness, however, you typically finish the game at level 25. Wasteland 3 uses the classic system, standing for coordination, luck, awareness, strength, speed, intelligence, and charisma. All of your stats max out at 10 and you can't go over. And I'm just going to state this right now because a lot of people have been getting this wrong. There is no doll or anything of the sort that will permanently boost your attributes for your party. Feel free to just max them out if you want to, especially if you're going down a certain build. There are some utilities and armor that will give you some attribute points, but I wouldn't worry about it for the most part. There are, however, some books that will boost skills instead, so hang on to those. Before I go on to talk about these attributes individually, I just want to put a bit of a disclaimer here. I will retcon this whole section if an update happens or balances are made. If so, again, top right. Coordination dictates the action points at your disposal during a turn, along with resistance to status effects. Action points are spent whenever performing an action like moving, shooting, or healing. I'm going to suggest no matter the build you are planning, throw a few points this way and eventually max it out, as a lot of this game runs on something known as the action economy. All characters have 6 base action points, so this stat can take it up to 11, allowing you to shoot many weapons multiple times and have a few points spare. Luck provides greater penetration on weapons, along with increased chances to perform lucky actions. Lucky actions include finding double money, scrap, or getting healed for double, resisting critical hits, completely avoiding damage, doing critical hits or mega critical hits, and being refunded points on actions. The more points in this stat, the more often these events will occur. Luck is pretty useful in this game. Increased penetration acts to allow automatic and big guns to do damage against armored enemies when they normally couldn't. Critical hits of any kind can completely turn a battle into your favor, with ignoring damage being a godsend. However, the best of all is the lucky action, as it refunds all the points. If this triggers on an attack, you get to go again if you wish. This is a stat I would consider after you max out your core ones. Awareness increases hit chance with all weapons, providing a damage bonus to ranged attacks and increasing a character's perception. Perception dictates your ability to detect hidden traps, treasure, and secret pathways. It's also dictated by sneaky shit and a few other factors. Awareness is great for pumping out a bit more damage, especially for snipers. Strength grants increased health immediately and on a level up, along with increased melee damage and throwing distance. Possibly most importantly of all, strength is a requirement for all heavy armor pieces, needing to be met to be worn by a character without any downsides. Maxing strength provides amazing benefits, and on any tank or melee build you'll want this hands down, and maybe even on any character later on. Increasing speed, as you may guess, allows you to move more spaces for each action point spent. However, it also increases your evasion and initiative. Initiative only comes into effect when you don't get the first attack, and for the most part it won't matter too much so long as encounters start with you. Invasion, on the other hand, is amazing for your tanky characters who will be absorbing hits for your weaker specialists. Any characters focusing on melee basically want to make good use of this. Intelligence has undergone a major rework from its previous iterations. Intelligence influences your character's chance to critically hit an enemy, along with the total damage increase, and provides a chance to heal for a greater amount. Additionally, every 2 points spent will provide an additional skill point on the character. It does not dictate your total skill points gained per level. As you can imagine, increasing the critical hit chance of a sniper can be very effective. Finally, Charisma provides increased experience and rewards in addition to being able to charge your strike meter faster. Charisma is the only attribute that directly ties into a skill, that being leadership in its effective area. Charisma isn't a requirement for recruitment like in previous games. So let me give you some insight. Coordination is hands down the most important stat, just due to the fact you can do more of everything with it. Melee users should go and max speed pretty quickly, and all of your characters will benefit greatly from strength and increased health. Depending on what you would prefer, intelligence is more consistent but doesn't have as much impact as luck does, so either of the two is fine. Awareness provides a considerable passive increase in damage, but for the sake of perception, only one team member really needs it. Finally, Charisma is a dump stat. Either don't worry about it at all or go all in on it. I did that in my first playthrough and had my main ranger have a 40% experience bonus the whole game. Pretty powerful in my opinion, but don't go halfway on it. You gain 111 skill points from leveling. As such, you can max out 3 skills. Smart use of skill books or maxing intelligence bumps us to 4 skills, with effective use of both allowing 5 skills in total to be maxed. Skills provide bonuses depending on their type and are prerequisites to perks. There are 22 skills in total, 6 weapon skills, 5 general skills, 7 exploration skills, and 4 social skills to invest in. In my opinion, all characters should invest in some sort of weapon skill, with the other skills complementing their playstyle and build. There are 5 common perks players can pick up, but personally I would ignore these unless you have some spare points or really want to min-max a stat. The level 10 of each perk typically changes your playstyle in a very drastic way. Finally, most skills often appear as a requirement for dialogue, not just hard ass and kiss ass. At any rate, I'm going to be going over all of these individually. Automatic weapon dictates your hit chance with assault rifles and submachine guns. Its perks specialize around increasing the amount of actions you can take while making those actions more effective. Assault rifles gain puncturing shot, allowing for multiple enemies to be hit, and in combination with double tap allows for guaranteed criticals, while SMGs gain spray and pray, increasing bullets fired, with increasing damage for being out of cover and free attacks if more than 5 spaces were moved. Gopher Hunter decreases an enemy cover bonus, with the real jewel of Trigger Happy refunding 3 action points per turn for killing an enemy. By playing to their strengths, automatic weapons experts provide multiple actions a turn while making those actions more impactful. Big Guns increases hit chance with flamethrowers and heavy machine guns. Move Up allows these characters to quickly get into position at the start of a fight, while machine gunners are able to make use of the suppressive fire skill to reduce hit chance of enemies, along with steady shot to boost evasion and your own hit chance. Flamethrowers may engulf targets and reduce hit chance further, and eventually be able to explode vehicles with pressure cooker. Widespread complements both, allowing for an increased area of effect with the strike meters. Both types are specialized in area suppression and are pretty powerful. Brawling boosts movement speed and increases the hit chance of brawling attacks. Brawling attacks add a combo onto the affected enemy, which increases the chance to critically hit them. With Shaolin Surprise, combo can be expended to provide additional damage and armor penetration. While weak early game, Brawling provides some amazing damage output with its perks, especially Fury of Blows, reducing AP of Brawling attacks by 1. This is amazing, as most of your attacks will only require 1 action point to use. Just think about that. Melee combat boosts hit chance of bladed and blunt weapons. It perks provides bleeding attack and free attacks for blades, and a stun along with armor gain for blunt. Both have options for guaranteed critical hits which require setup with certain effects, but both are deadly when performed correctly. Small Arm involves pistols and shotguns. Pistols are able to quickly gain strike meter with Opportunist and Trick Shot, while shotguns have powerful crowd control and damage against targets with Shredder Shot. Both have effective synergy with Draw and can easily fend off melee attackers with counter-offensive. Finally, sniper rifles provide additional hit chance against targets, and even more so with mark target and concentration. They are able to easily take out enemies with the strike meter and masterful precision, and chain ambush allows for some fantastic ambush attacks with low health targets. Animal Whisperer unlocks the ability to tame animals depending on the level. Perks focused on boosting the effectiveness of animals, with bonuses to the tamer both passively and combat focused. Vengeful Bond can be very useful to quickly take out some targets, although very situational. This is needed for some of the collectibles in the game, most notably the robot chickens. Explosives increases the damage output of all explosive attacks and increases resistance. It is also a requirement to disarm landmines and equip some rocket launchers. With Bomb Recovery and Minesweeper, explosive experts can easily stop your team from being blown to pieces, while the rest of the perks focus on total damage output and area of effect, with High Impact being one of the deadliest perks in the game. First Aid grants access to better healing items along with boosting the amount healed. Perks include increasing maximum HP when healed, healing for more, and being able to respond better to downed allies. It isn't heavily needed like in the previous games, but still useful to have on a dedicated healer. Sneaky Shit boosts damage of stealth attacks and allows you to be more perceptive and sneak around easier. Perks provide greater detection time and allow you to recover from mistakes with close call, but most notably of all, make some ridiculous damage with Lights Out. This perk can be ridiculous sometimes. Weird Science grants additional elemental damage and is a requirement for some weapons. Overcharge grants your weapon bonus elemental damage, with Microwave Research being an effective anti-armor solution, and Conductive Beams electrocuting enemies close by. Armor modding is a skill unlocking the ability to mod armor with add-ons, stat boosts for pieces of gear. It only has one perk at level 10, which increases the armor of all party members by 5. If you want to get the most out of your items, this is a nice grab. Lockpicking allows you to open doors, safes, and containers you couldn't normally otherwise. Higher the level means the more options available to you. Some of the best loot in the game is hidden behind level 9 or 10 locks, and in my opinion is needed by any squad. Some quests have solutions behind locked doors, so this one allows you to bypass some challenging areas of the game. I believe this should be one of your first skills. Nerd Stuff gives you the ability to hack computers in the world and robotic enemies in combat. Higher the rank means higher level enemies you can hack. Perks revolve around making hacked enemies more useful, increasing action points, making enemies target them instead of you, and dealing damage as they move. Mechanics allows you to repair generators, deploy certain buildings in battle, while dealing more damage to certain type of robotic enemies. Perks further increase damage while making deployables more powerful and repairing more lucrative. This is really good if you make heavy use of deployables, which can arguably break the game. Survival is a requirement to avoid random encounters while increasing damage to animals and mutants. Big Game Hunter further increases this damage bonus, while Explorer's Instincts reveals the whole world map. Not needed per se, but very useful for those who just want to get going quickly. Toaster Repair, as you can imagine, allows you to repair toasters. New players to the franchise might be very confused as to why you'd want to do this. However, toasters hide pretty valuable loot in the world, so being able to repair them can be very beneficial. Perks increase the loot from toasters, with toast being one of the best healing items in the game and increases to fire damage. This works well with flamethrowers. Weapon modding grants access to add-ons for your guns, with the higher level add-ons requiring a higher skill. Perks grant additional ammo while scavenging and additional weapon mods in scrap for scrapping. As with armor, excellent if you want to pump out the most damage with your weapons. Barter decreases the cost of items while increasing drastically the amount you sell them for. Perks allow for cheap prices while buying in bulk, and rarely being able to sell junk items for 50 times its value. I normally hate these types of perks in games, but in this one, barter is stupidly useful and allows you to remain well stocked. Hard Ass and Kiss Ass are the two speech skills in Wasteland 3. While having no benefits, they are common requirements for speech options. I personally recommend investing heavily in both. They offer unique rewards and unlock new mission paths for many dialogue options. You can also avoid paying bribes by just threatening people. Finally, Leadership provides various bonuses to units around the character, with a range as dictated by your charisma skill. Certain actions with a leader character also provide bonuses to everyone around them, like increased damage or crit chance. Leadership provides access to the Rally ability, which grants more AP to all units, and Demoralize, which reduces hit chances and synergizes with many other abilities. As a general rule for everything I've talked about, you shouldn't overlap skills for the most part. Take skills for your characters that complement them well, increasing their damage and survivability, and grab perks that enable you to excel in certain areas. Play your strengths and limit your weaknesses. There may also be a secret ability that I haven't put in here. It's amazing. My suggestion, put it on your sniper when you find it. During character creation, you can select a background and an optional quirk that cannot be changed. While backgrounds provide minor buffs to certain stats, quirks provide sizable bonuses while issuing hard forfeits. If you have a build in mind, picking one that synergizes well can result in some really amazing characters. I won't go over them all, but let me go over some of my favourites. Explodomaniac is first, and a 15% bonus to explosives is really useful in a demolitions character. Considering the demolition skill already bumps up explosive damage, this can go on top of that to further drive it home. Grenades and especially rockets are valuable resources that don't commonly come up, so getting the most out of them is crucial. Explosives provide major damage and cover destruction to a wide area, making them the best tool at your disposal for many situations. This just complements that well. Goat Killer gives your character 5% chance to critical hits. These are your intelligence criticals, so having a buffed up intelligence character with this makes it a good synergy. If you can specialize with weapon mods and some other utilities, you can have a character that crits more than 50% of the time, perfect for a sniper. However, for a more melee focused build, I would say you have 3 options. Lethal Weapon is the obvious one and the one I would go with, providing a flat damage increase of 10%. However, Mopey Poet played right can make bullets really unlikely to hit. Sex Machine is also a decent option for closing the gap, however I don't think it's worth it over the other two, you can just bump up your speed instead. Raider Hater on the other hand is the best general skill aside from Bookworm. Most of your enemies in this game are human, meaning that the 10% bonus comes into effect more often than with the other types. Good for doing the job more efficiently. For quirks, let me start with Death Wish. It grants 3 extra action points to the character, however they are unable to equip any types of armor. Now this is a major downside and I would never recommend putting it on a character unless they are a sniper. Snipers should be staying far back and not taking fire from enemies if they can help it, so this just gives them more to play with. With coordination, this allows snipers, one of the most deadly high damage dealing classes in the game, to shoot twice in one turn. Majorly amazing. Bop Bag is fantastic for tanks, however you could just as easily run Medical Marvel so long as you're cautious of enemies. Bop Bag provides intrinsic armor for a movement penalty, while Medical Marvel adds additional health, however the unit can't be revived during combat. I prefer to run Medical Marvel on a melee character over a tank for 2 reasons. It gives them some more survivability, and if a melee character dies, that means they were probably out of position and I couldn't revive them even if I wanted to. As such, I just find it serves them better. For stealth characters, Mime is your go-to. An additional 2 seconds of protection time on top of whatever you have from sneaky shit goes a long way. You can easily avoid being detected with a character like such, and the negatives are relatively minor. On the flip side, Pyromaniac is fantastic for a flamethrower or demolitions character, as a 25% bonus to fire and explosive damage on top of everything is stupidly good. You will explode sometimes, but I feel like that's a small price to pay. Summing it up, Point Dexter is your go-to for your skill specialist. The con penalty is pretty damaging at earlier levels and won't do you many favors, but with points invested in strength, you can outweigh this. That being said, do have at least 2 points in strength, otherwise you'll actually lose max health each level up, which is pretty funny. Those are just my personal favorites, but for both backgrounds and quirks, you can make most of them work with a bit of creativity. Alright, so prefacing this section, the whole thing has a generally attached to it. In Wasteland 3, there are a variety of items you can use and give to your characters. Let's go over some of them. Firstly, most weapons and armor will have requirements attached to them, and while you can equip anything, you will suffer penalties if you don't meet them. There is no penalty for equipping heavy armor over light armor so long as you meet these prerequisites. Higher the prerequisites, the better the weapon or armor piece. There are 6 different tiers of weapons and armor as you progress through the game, with the best often being unique rewards for quests or requiring some work to get done. Weapons come in a wide variety of flavors, and act as you could reasonably expect them to. Your generalists are your assault rifles with low AP cost, medium damage and penetration, which can reliably hit targets mid-range, although suffer a penalty if firing anything else. Pretty much middle of the road every way. Sniper rifles have fantastic range and damage, but require a heavy action point investment to use. Pistols, on the other hand, are easy to fire multiple times but have the shortest range of any gun, although they can easily build up their strike meter. These 3 guns share precision strike as their special, allowing them to specifically target areas for a chance at a powerful unique debuff on the enemy, which can drastically change a battle. Heavy machine guns share the action cost and around the same damage of sniper rifles, however must be closer to any enemy in order to attack it. Small machine guns are similar to assault rifles, however they have to be close in order to do damage. Shotguns are like pistols with their range but can hit multiple enemies, potentially exceeding their damage output. And flamethrowers are powerful tools for dispersing close grouped enemies and setting debuffs. These 4 all share the same ability, an AoE cone attack that hits all enemies, which is incredibly powerful. Rocket launchers are exactly what they say on the tin. Point and blow up that area, destroying both enemies' insides and maybe more importantly cover. It has its own strike ability, leaving a pool of radiation where it lands, very useful for prolonged firefights. There are 3 types of melee weapons. Blades are effective against unarmored opponents, blunt are effective against armored opponents, and brawling has low damage per attack but can pump out multiple hits a turn. I've mentioned this before, but I will say it again, brawling gets stupidly amazing near the middle of the game if you invest enough into it. Melee weapons are great for tankier, speedier characters and shouldn't be overlooked. All come with a special move to stun a group of hostiles. If I had to give an opinion how the game's like at the state of release, sniper rifles, SMGs and brawling are probably the best for their respective roles, but are all good depending on what hands they're in. I find assault rifles end up not doing enough damage and just a little too general for their application, and flamethrowers don't put out enough to justify the big potential for friendly fire. Heavy machine guns can be too clunky to move around position, but again, all perspective and depending on the build. Armor comes in 2 types, light which has no requirements and heavy which has a strength and sometimes others. As you can expect, heavy armor provides more defense than light. There are 6 tiers of armor in total that you can find as you progress through the game, and I highly recommend you keep your characters up to date with armor. Especially nearing the end of the game, where you will take hits that can one-shot kill you regularly, armor at the very least prevents this from occurring. Investing points in strength for characters that won't be tanking is absolutely vital in order to give them these heavier armor sets. With both armor and weapons, keep them updated with the latest mods as you unlock them. And in terms of utilities, I won't say much. They are just various trinkets and gadgets that you can equip to give you bonuses. These bonuses differ from boosting skills and attributes to unlocking new abilities or granting various abilities depending on the character. Every utility is useful in some way, so use the utilities that best suit your character's playstyle or bumping up whatever skills they have. There are 8 different companions in Wasteland 3, all of which can be obtained during the same playthrough. You can have 2 of them with your 4 custom characters to form a party of 6. As a general rule, you want these guys filling in the weaknesses your main squad has. They will come with some predetermined skills and attributes in accordance to the level you pick them up at. be warned, as some of these characters will leave if you annoy them enough. Stuff like killing innocent people and certain quest decisions will cause this. And now this becomes a delicate topic, because I'm going to talk about who you can recruit and what you have to do to grab everyone, but that will produce some story spoilers, so if you want to skip this section, please go ahead. Alright, good. Remember the injured ranger you met at the start of the game? Try and keep her alive and don't allow her to be killed. Jodie Bell becomes a companion after the Trouble in Little Vegas quest and is a fairly decent sniper. Obviously, if she dies, you can't obtain her here, so ensure that at this interaction she's okay. Lucia Wesson and Marshall Quan are obtained during the first mission after the tutorial section. They are very hard to miss. They will both, however, leave if you start attacking people, so don't do that. Be a decent person. Scotch Mo is back and more drunk than ever. He can be found after finding a cook for Ranger HQ, which I believe the only way to do this is during the Bazaar quest My Body Requires This. Ironclad Cordite is the former boss of the Scar Collectors and plays a major role in the final part of the game. This is where my main spoilers come from. You can recruit him through the quest Lords of War that you get from the supposedly dead character Angela Death. You must allow him to join your party. If you do and support Angela over the Patriarch, he vastly alters how the game ends. Fish Lips can be found at Union Station and also must be fought with. After fighting him, you have the option to talk him into your party. Take this. Another major spoiler, you can actually recruit Victory Buchanan into your party because he is that crazy. Once you catch him, he will ask to join you. This is your one chance to accept his offer, so if you wish, go ahead. Zepsi Joran is also recruited in the same area, and you won't miss her as she's blocking your exit. In Wasteland, ensuring you have enough money to get by can be pretty hard, especially early on. Now, I'm obviously obligated to say that the barter skill will help you in this regard, definitely more so than in previous games. Weapons and items aren't worth as much like in the other games, so being able to sell them for more is very important. Maxing the barter skill grants an additional 500% on top of the original selling price, while lowering the price of other items you can buy. I'd even recommend holding on to the junk items you find for later on and sell them when you max the skill for a greater profit. Even more so with the Antique Seller perk, which gives you a chance to sell junk items for 50 times their profit. Funnily enough, I find that if you're struggling for money, investing in toaster repair can be a good idea. I wouldn't suggest selling the golden toaster parts as they are used later on, but the goodies you find in them can be sold for a considerable profit, more so with the perks. Holding off on buying better weapons is also a way to save money, considering enemies often drop the right loot to keep you up to date with the difficulty in that area. Looting the overworld and these supply crates bring some really valuable stuff. Finally, it is often more economical to heal at a doctor than buying the medical equipment and healing yourself. Most of it's just being smart with your purchases and selling what you don't need and buying only what is crucial. So be savvy and you should be good. During your adventure across Colorado, there are a few things you can collect in order to boost your capabilities both in and out of combat. The most obvious of which are creepy dolls and skill books. Creepy dolls are collectibles that you can find in hidden areas and containers that affect your whole party with passive but minor boosts. Skill books, on the other hand, are consumable goods that permanently boost the skill of one of your characters. Due to this, to effectively maximize, you should only use them when you are level 9 in one of these skill areas to save the most skill points you can. There is, however, some other stuff. Morningstar is an AI you can find in the Call to Action side quest. Choosing the right dialogue will allow you to get him as an AI for your vehicle. This improves some stats along with action points, so it's a nice grab and something you should look at getting into when high enough level. If you lockpick this door in the flats, you'll be given this mysterious case by this character and you're told not to open it. If you do open it, you only get some scrap, but if you hold off on doing that, you can return to him later on for the best heavy armor in the game, so definitely hold off on opening it. While in these flats dealing with this quest and inviting Irv to your HQ, you are able to make clones, great for being a distraction for enemies. There are 4 cyborg chickens you can find around Colorado Springs. If you collect all 4 using Animal Whisperer and return them back to the pen at Ranger HQ, you are given the companion Poltron after beating Victory. On this note, the best animal partner is found at the massacre site, the Honey Badger. Finally, by collecting enough of the golden toaster parts, you will make the golden toaster and are told of the Toaster Academy. Placing the toaster on this altar here will produce the companion Courageous, who will actually shoot flaming toaster enemies. It's very nice. There are many factions you can help and support during your adventures in Colorado. Here is a quick overview of the major ones you can interact with. The Patriarch's Marshals is the first group led by Sheriff Daisy. They protect and guard the city of Colorado Springs and the first faction where you can properly interact and change your opinion with them. In the early stages of the game, sending them prisoners their way will increase relations along with generally helping them. You can either side with them or Death's Coup. The Gippers are a cult who not only control the oil supply in Colorado, but worship God President Ronald Reagan, who's actually an AI. They hate communists and have a giant statue that shoots lasers. You can help them by destroying the Godfishes and allowing them to have their way with Buchanan's son. You can either side with them or the Machine Commune. The 100 Families are a group of higher class citizens in Colorado Springs, descended from survivalist families who had bunkers at the time of the bombs falling. They are situated against the Wasteland of refugees, a group of people attempting to enter Colorado Springs and other towns to avoid the gangs and dangers of the plains. Due to the inability to support that many people, the 100 Families want you to stop them. The Monster Army used to rule Colorado before the Patriarch, and the 100 Families defeated them. All they have left now is the Bazaar, a prosperous economic center. They are led by Flab the Inhaler. There will be many choices in the game where you either have to side with a faction or leave both to squabble. Depending on your choices, some of these factions may die out. Now here are just some general tips I can give. You can create your own characters after the tutorial, just talk to this man here. Naturally, you can swap them out as you wish, you aren't stuck with the two you started the game with. This fight here can be a hard one if you're just starting out. However, if you have a high enough perception, you'll notice this hidden passage. Follow through, and let's just say this fight becomes easy. You can hold left shift to highlight all the interactables on the map. Basically, I have this taped down the whole time, but be sure to give it a press. To save on ammo early, try and use different weapons on all of your characters. Some weapons also use different ammos than you may expect, so ensure that you check all the different weapon descriptions. If you're unable to disarm a mine, you can shoot at it to blow it up. Enemies will also trigger traps, so sometimes leaving them and baiting enemies into them works wonders. Also, on this note, if you're unable to pick open a door, you can knock most of them down by just shooting or punching it. A rocket also works well. There are many solutions like this in this game, so think creatively. The quick save button is F5 by default. The quick load key is F9. You can thank me later for that one. Always try to be the one to start a fight. If you do, your whole party will get their turn first and initiative doesn't matter. On that note, try to kill a few enemies, then damage a lot of them. Some zones are locked off with radiation until you upgrade the Kodiak. You can buy these upgrades here at your garage, just talk to this man. A lot of abilities have synergies and do more damage under certain conditions, so try and use these in tandem with one another. Coordination is key in this game. If you're ever wondering where to put attribute points, having more AP makes your life so much easier and allows you to do more of everything. If you ever need a stat to upgrade this. When you miss a shot, there is a small chance that you may hit something else in the way. This could be good if an enemy is hit, which is great. This could also be a friend, which is not too good. Just be careful with your fire. And finally, I highly recommend investing in hard ass and smart ass, even if you don't normally. This is one of those games where you can talk your way into many rewards and talk your way out of many dangers. The final 2 boss fights can be avoided if you max out these stats, and you can get so many other good benefits out of it, so please go ahead and do that. Wasteland 3 is one of the best squad-oriented turn-based RPGs released in a while, and definitely the tallest height this series has reached so far. With incredible depth to its world design and fantastic gameplay, I can only hope that the planned DLC furthers this game to belong next to some of the greats. For those of us who are strategy and tactics nerds who are always down for a bit of number crunching, Wasteland 3 offers a fantastic experience well worth your time. Hey, thank you for watching. This video alone took around 150 hours to complete with recording, scripting, research, voiceovers, the works, so any support is much appreciated. If there is demand for it, I will make a video detailing how to survive Supreme Jerk difficulty, as I am now currently trying to get through it.